Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tansson Talk Show, where our mission here is to help bring people together. In case you don't know me, I'm Brandon K. Hedgepeth, your host, and I'm so glad to be here today. But let's get this episode started by please giving a warm welcome to our guest here today, Jordan Keynes. Thank you so much for being here today.
Of course. Thank you, Brandon, for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, I'm so excited to have you on. And so, first of all, how are you doing today?
Doing good. Yeah, good start to the day so far. I'm excited to share some things about my journey in this whole filmmaking industry. So really excited. Yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely want to dive right into that. But first, if you're able to go ahead and give yourself a brief introduction for those who may be watching or listening here today on the Tanson Talk.
Sure. So my name is Jordan Keynes. I am a 21-year-old freelance videographer based in Clemson, South Carolina. I grew up in Boston, Mass. Over the years, I have been working on building my own freelance videography brand, and I've had some great opportunities to work with tons of really cool people throughout this whole journey, and it's been awesome. It's been great.
Well, I'm so glad to hear it. And if I recall correctly from my research, did you recently actually make your move to South Carolina?
Yes, I did actually. So it was only about 3 weeks now that I moved down here with my older brother actually. So I am living with him. I'm actually right on Clemson University campus, and it's been excellent so far. Really cool.
Well, I'm so glad that you were able to have a safe and successful move. But I guess to start back from the beginning, what really brought you into wanting to do videography work?
Yeah, so it was definitely when I was a younger me, I would say. I would say right around middle school, kind of beginning of high school, I just kind of began to pick up a camera. And but before that, I had a really big interest in cameras when I was really young. I kind of played around with camcorders and whatnot. But as I got older, I definitely started to take an interest in YouTube, and so I started making my own vlogs. I would occasionally film for other people, and I just loved cameras. I was like, wow, like I can really tell a story doing this. And so that's where I really got started in this whole industry. Totally.
Wow. And would you say that, because you mentioned that even before you started doing the videos and doing the vlogs that you had a interest in cameras. So did you always have cameras around you or just like the ones that other people had? Or I guess what was your some of your initial exposures to cameras? No pun intended.
Yeah, yeah. I really never had any exposure early on to anything professional. It was mainly just these simple camcorders. Like I said, yeah, like I just kind of played around with a really simple camcorder when I was super young, and then everything from there on, I just started with my iPhone, and that was a great starting point for me. I kind of learned how to set up a composition, how to tell a story, and it wasn't until about I would say 15. I think I was around 15 years old that I had actually gotten my first DSLR for Christmas.
Wow. Well, do you remember how the feeling was when you got that at around 15?
Oh yeah, it was a good feeling. It was a great feeling. At that point, I definitely knew that I wanted to step up my video production. I wanted to step up what I was doing at the time, were just vlogs. I really knew that it was something I wanted to pursue. And so, yeah, when I got that camera, it opened up a whole new world of opportunities for me, and I began to see it as a way to make money as well. So that was really cool.
And I guess for a two-part question to go into that. So the first one would be, so during your time, vlogging prior to getting your DSLR camera recording on your iPhone at the time, how was the feeling like going through that and going through the whole process, you know, especially since you mentioned that you did it for YouTube. And then I guess the second part of the question would be, like you mentioned that you can use it to, of course, make money. And so, did you have any career aspirations before that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And yeah, I really started just doing it for fun. It was just kind of more of like a fun thing that I did, and there was always a goal in the back of my head. to try and get it to a professional level, but I just didn't really know how to at that point. I didn't really know what my niche was. I was still kind of playing around, seeing what it was that I like to film, and so it definitely took me a while to figure that out. So in my early stages, that was a growing point for me. I think that was a good time to figure out my niche. What did I like to film? Like I said, and so eventually it came to a point where I started to find out, what it was that I enjoyed filming. Because I didn't want to film anything that I really wasn't interested in because it wasn't going to be my best work. Is there anything else I
Yeah.
can answer for you on that question?
Not necessarily, but I mean that's just so interesting. I mean to think about. And ultimately, like, where did you decide to, to really focus on for your recording after getting the DSLR?
That's a great question as well, and I figured out that I really liked filming sports. I had previously, I would say this year, I figured out I liked working with content creators. I liked doing brand marketing. And so I would say those three: sports, working content creators, doing brand marketing videos, have been a really cool way to tell a story. Um, and I've done a really good job making money off those as well. Weddings, especially weddings, is a very very good business when it comes to making money. If you want to make some good money, the wedding industry, that's where it's at. I would highly recommend that.
Well, that's definitely good to know, especially for any aspiring videographers out there who may be watching. But yeah, but of course you mentioned that you started doing this, of course, a bit more professionally, not to the level where you are now, of course, around 15 and progressing from there. And so I guess after that time, where was the next turning point for you and changing your direction or beginning to improve and professionalize?
Yeah, that's when things, yeah, I would say definitely changed for myself. There was definitely a huge turning point, and so uh, I pretty much, what happened was I graduated high school. I had went to a tech school, so I wanted to be an electrician, right? And so I did electrical for a year. I didn't like it. It wasn't for me. I kind of always had that vision in the back of my head that I could do film as a career, so I still wanted to chase that. So I decided to leave those jobs, those electrical jobs, and I went to college. And so I figured, okay, I'm going to do a film degree in college. And so college was good. Um, but what I realized while I was at college was I'm missing out on a lot of learning opportunities right now. And in the arts industry, um, I personally don't think a degree is required for this industry. You can learn this yourself. There's so many different things out there to help you learn this industry. The hardest part of it is the business aspect. That's what I've seen. But so pretty much, I decided to leave college after that year too. And so for this whole past year, I have actually been working full time now as a freelancer, and I will say it's been incredible. I have never learned so much about this industry in my life, just in a year, and being able to do this full time, like I said, there's just been so much learning. So I think that it's actually benefited me leaving college, so that way I can really, really focus on this every single day, not just my academics. And that's kind of what was holding me back. College was holding me back from really trying to pursue my goals and dreams. Um, do I think college is bad? Absolutely not. I think college is great. I think you can learn a lot of great things about the film industry there. I think it's good to have a degree in general. So I definitely wouldn't shit on college, but I think college is great. But it was holding me back. So pretty much, yeah, I decided to leave college. I got some opportunities working with content creators, and from there, I was like, okay, I gotta make this switch. I gotta start working on my business.
Well, that's definitely really interesting and definitely a lot to unpack there. But first of all, congratulations on your first year. I mean, of working freelance on, and on your own. That is incredible.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Of course. And yeah, but I love that when you mentioned, your decision to ultimately like leave college to focus on these different opportunities for continued learning. I like how you mentioned that it wasn't that you didn't want to learn, but rather you wanted to learn more hands on and do it in a way that fit you more, which is something that I love the way that you put that, and that you're still learning, you're still actively doing what you love, just in a different way.
Yeah, totally. I can agree with you. And thank you for that. I appreciate those kind words. Yeah, I do believe that being able to focus on this instead of having college too to worry about, having my full focus on this has just been incredibly just great, you know. So it's definitely helped me grow this business. I will say.
I'm so glad. And I guess continuing with that, how long did it take you to ultimately like make the decision? Was it something that you knew like right then and there that you wanted to pursue, or was this something that like you long and fought over weeks or months? Or I guess how was it for you trying to understand and process it?
Yeah, so it was actually a really quick decision, and it was something I really wasn't considering too hard at the time. But I do have a really great story for you. So pretty much how the whole thing started out was my brother's friend had sent me a story that was posted by some content creators called the Pointer Brothers, and they're pretty big on the TikTok platform. I think they have a pretty good following of around 2.5 million. So they have a lot of good fans. A lot of people love their content, and I had never heard of them at the time, but they were looking for a videographer. So my brother's friend sends me over the story, and I was immediately hopping on that. I was like, I'm gonna contact them and see if they are interested in my help. And so sure enough, 2 weeks later, I'm in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, with just like a ton of my buddies and stuff. We're just chilling out at a buddy's house, and I get a text from their manager asking if I was willing to take on a few jobs with them, and so I was like, absolutely. And that was just incredible. I was stoked for that. I'd never really received something like that before, and so I was really happy to work with them. And so I did a few jobs with them, and one of the bigger jobs that we did was at Gillette Stadium. And so if you don't know Gillette Stadium, that's where the New England Patriots play, and we did a an event for the Premier Lacrosse League. So they were in collaboration with them. I was there to film their whole experience collaborating with the Premier Lacrosse League. And so I remember that night we had finished up, wrapped up the shoot. It was incredible. We got to meet some awesome names like Paul Rabel, Teddy Bruschi, tons of different professional lacrosse players. It was incredible. And we go out for dinner after, and I remember the boys telling me, they're like, hey man, we would love to take you out to LA with us for a couple weeks in October if you're around. So immediately I was like, dang, that's a good opportunity, because immediately in my mind I'm thinking, okay, that's a great way to network, to meet people, to work on my craft, and ultimately to see what the mecca of filming is. Because you think about LA, that is the mecca of filmmaking. That's where a lot of this stuff goes on. So immediately I was like, okay, I really got to start thinking, is it worth it to leave college or not? So I took a couple days to think about it, and I got back to the boys and I was like, hey guys, like I really love this opportunity you've hit me with, and I am actually considering leaving college, and I would love to work with you guys more, as well as work on my own personal brand, and so that's what I did. I remember within those few days, I decided to make the decision to leave college. So I had officially dropped out at that point, and I had continued making some Snapchat shows for the Pointer Brothers, as well as doing my own wedding films and just networking and trying to build a better client base over this past year.
And ultimately, like, first of all, that is incredible that you were able to do that, and that you were recommended for and have those opportunities, because I mean that's just extraordinary.
Absolutely, you don't get an opportunity like that every day, and any good opportunity that I ever see, I try and hop right on it. You know, if I think it's going to be worth my time, even if there's not going to be a lot of money involved, it's a good network. It's a good way to network, and that's the name of the game. You got to network in this industry if you want to make it.
That is so true. And yeah, but overall, that's so exciting that you were able to, I mean, to do that, and especially like at a considerably like young age, you were, in college and selected to do this. And out of curiosity, how many do you know how many people like they were, I guess, sorting from to potentially help them out for that?
That's a great question, and I could have asked them. They probably could have gave me a good answer, but I'm not too sure. I'm sure they had quite a few people hit them up though, because over Instagram they had a pretty good following at the time, so I'm sure they got quite a few people interested. But yeah, I mean, to see that they liked my work was really cool, and you know that made me really happy, and it made me feel like, wow, okay, this is something that I can actually pursue, you know. So that was cool.
Yeah, and I mean, especially you had gotten into it that you just wanted to, yeah, gradually work on your progression, but being able to be offered that opportunity is just great. But like within the time that you ultimately decide to turn away from college and begin your freelance career, like how was that transition for you? Like, was it just a smooth transition, or was there a lot of figuring out to do, especially like being able to travel to LA? Like, have you done that type of extensive traveling before?
Yeah, it was a big transition. I've never done crazy traveling like that, simply because I've never really had the time and money, and so it was a big transition. It was scary too, because now I needed to figure out, you know, how am I going to make money. And so for a while, I was actually out of work. And so this past winter it was a big drought for me, a big kind of dry spout. And so I actually had to do my best to just network over the internet, see if anybody needed help, whether I was doing freelance editing or freelance videography work. And I even just kind of got another full time job on top of that. And I was working a full time delivery job in Boston on top of trying to manage a freelance videography business. It was not easy, I will admit that. And so before this move this past summer, I was trying to balance two full time jobs, just so that way I could make money to support the business and support myself as well. And luckily, as this year has gone on, it seems like business is starting to pick up a little bit more. And so, like I said, you know, you got to network. You got to make those connections, or else, you know, you're going to have to find another job and find some sort of other, you know, income support.
But I mean, I like that. I mean, through it all, that you stuck with it, and and we're able to make it this far. And I will say too, like for you trying to balance like the two full time jobs doing your productions, like were there ever any times that like the I don't know that everything just sort of conflicted? Like you might have a really great opportunity, but you have to do something for work, or I mean, or any of those type of hardships.
Absolutely, absolutely. There were plenty of times like that happened. Certain clients would reach out to me for certain dates that they would need work, and so like a great example is a client that I've been working on a documentary with. I remember we were working on a few shoots in Texas, so he flew me out to Texas a couple times. And so having that full-time job, obviously at that point, I need to make sure I can get coverage and that I can, you know, I can get somebody to replace my shifts so that way I can go fly out there, get my work done, and then get back. So luckily I had a really good job where the managers were very flexible and they could give me that time off so I could do my other work on the side. But it was hard. There were times where they really needed me as a delivery driver too, and I'm like, dang, like this is really holding me back from my business, but I need the money, you know. So it's hard. It was extremely hard, and right now, luckily, the full time business is my only job right now, and I'm trying to keep it that way because it's just it's too much having those two full time jobs. I will admit.
Yeah, I would bet, but I mean, I'm glad that at least that you're figuring it out. And I know we mentioned earlier about your move. So, how did your move come about? To relocate. Was that a personal decision or a business decision, or a little bit in between?
I would say it was more a personal decision. I didn't do it because I wanted to work on my business necessarily, but it was just an opportunity that came up through my older brother. Like I said, my older brother is a grad student here at Clemson University, so he asked me if I wanted to move in with him in his condo. And so there was an extra room that was getting rented out, and I said absolutely. And the main reason was just to move out of Boston, get away from my home because I was still living with my parents at the time. And so, at this point in my life, I do feel like I need my own place where I can kind of, get away from, my parents and start to kind of, start my own life. It definitely has kept me more focused on my work though. And yeah, like I said, the main reason for the move was just for personal reasons. I just figured it'd be good for me to get kind of a new feeling for what it's like in a different location other than Boston.
Well, nevertheless, though, even though it wasn't a business decision, but rather a personal one, how was the sort of transition with moving, like, even like what you're doing in your work? Because I'm sure that most of your clients are probably located where you previously were, I presume. And so, how was it like moving that over? And I know you're still in the process of moving
Yeah,
everything too.
yeah, totally. Yeah, obviously, as I've worked on my business, I've begun to receive many clients who know I'm based in Boston, and they ask me for work and whatnot. And over these past few months, I've had to tell them, hey, I'm making a move right now, and I've unfortunately had to tell some clients that I'm moving away from Boston. But there are some wedding shoots that I'm going to be flying back and forth for. So there are a few shoots here and there that I will be flying back to Boston for. But overall, I think the most important thing is to build a client base where the client is willing to pay high, like a higher price. If they know your value, they're they're gonna want to hire you no matter what. So if they need to fly you out to do a shoot, they're gonna do it. But you got to have that value. And so, like I've said, I've been flown out multiple times for shoots. I've gone to Texas for this documentary. I've been out to LA with the Pointer Brothers. I have a few friends who are out in LA who just needed me for some marketing videos, and so they flew me out too, and we made a few marketing videos out there. If people know your value, though, they're gonna take the extra few steps, and they're gonna pay more for your value.
Yeah, but that is so true. And speaking of making these connections, networking, and yeah, and you, of course, building up a great reputation of of all of this great work that you're doing. So, how is it, you know, for you looking back, like you starting this up and making these connections? Like, did some of these just come up based off of some people or have people come to you, or mixture of both when you were very first starting out?
Definitely a little bit of both. I've had people come to me who've seen my work and just hit me up and say, "Hey, I love your work. I love maybe this project that you worked on or that. I would love to use you as an asset for our business." And I would say more often I have to go about networking myself and reaching out myself to clients. So as I grow, I do hope that I can get leads organically and that I don't have to do myself. But in the beginning stages, it's definitely been more of a networking kind of go out there myself and get my leads.
And what would you say is like the biggest overall struggle, whether it's a business one or a personal one or in between, like the biggest struggle with trying to to do this, and I guess also what is the biggest opportunity as well?
Yeah, I would say overall the biggest struggle is easily just landing clients in general. You need to really make sure you're showing your clients your value, what you're worth. If you just kind of throw a price, like $300 for this 2 hour shoot. If you just kind of throw a price at a client, they're not going to eat it up. You got to show them what is it that they are paying for. You got to really make sure they see the value in it. Because if it's not an asset to them, why are they going to hire you? So I would say the real struggle is trying to land clients. So you got to be prepared. You got to be able to send a good pitch to a client. And sorry, what was your other question?
Oh, yeah. So the other question, so yeah, so it was your biggest struggle, but then also the biggest opportunity that you've had, or I guess your biggest highlight from this time.
Oh, that's a really good question. Biggest opportunity. I will have to say it probably was working with my friends, the Pointer Brothers. They just kind of they got the whole ball rolling for me. Some of the things that I got to experience with them, whether it was meeting huge creators like David Dobrik, or uh, even we got to go to SoFi Stadium to watch like a Rams game fieldside. Like just having all these unique, cool experiences were just they were incredible. And I can't thank those guys enough for helping me get the ball rolling.
That's so great. And out of curiosity, are you still doing work for the Pointer Brothers?
No, unfortunately not. They were close to me in Massachusetts, so it was a good way to kind of work with them. I wasn't too far from them, so I was able to do shoots rather easily. But since then, they have moved out to LA. They are making content out there full time, working in collaboration with all sorts of brands and whatnot. So I still love to keep in touch with them. They're great guys. Highly recommend checking them out too. They're really funny. But hopefully in the future, maybe we can work on some stuff. But as of right now, no.
Well, nevertheless, at least you were able to have a great opportunity and a great starting point to, I guess, the more professional side of things, not even to your overall career, because you've been doing this for quite a while. And so, out of curiosity, like, have you looked back at some of your earlier work and and really seen how you've progressed from then to now?
Oh, totally, all the time. I have a YouTube channel from vlogs that are 6 years back, and that's all on my YouTube channel at Kane's Media. Like I said, yeah, I used to post all those vlogs. That's where my whole passion started. And then I did like passion projects with just shooting my friends in the summertime, having fun, doing whatever, and that's really how I got good at my craft. And yeah, I look back at those videos and I do think to myself like, wow, I have come a long way. Having those videos, those old videos, it keeps me going in a way. It keeps my motor running, because I'm able to look back at my work and say, wow, I have really made progression.
Yeah, and I mean, not even just looking at your past work too, but because you vlogged so much of your journey, I mean, you're able to truly even look back and see the very beginnings of what you're doing, how you got here, and I mean, I think it's always incredible whenever you have that opportunity, because not everyone really can look back and be like, "That's what I did 6 years ago."
Totally, totally. Yeah. I think about that myself too. Not everybody has, some vlogs from 6 years ago, them, doing their daily life. So it's really cool that I was able to document all that along the way. Totally.
And out of curiosity, have you been documenting, even just for yourself, of any of your past adventures for this past year?
I actually have. On my YouTube channel, I actually started a series called The Pursuit, where it's basically just me pursuing my passions, and I will be continuing The Pursuit as more of a documentary, self-documentary style, um, sort of, sort of like episodes. I'm planning on coming out with episodes, highlighting some of my great things I've achieved, as well as some of my harder times going through this. And so, yeah, if you want to check all that out, you really want to see how the journey has gone. It's all in The Pursuit.
Well, I'm glad to hear it, and I will say too that I did actually watch your first 3 episodes of The Pursuit, and it's so interesting to watch it and go through it. And of course, I've seen some of your older content as well. And I will say that even for like your older content, that your cinematography work on that is just still amazing. I mean, like you have amazing visuals, and I just really like the style that you do to shoot your videos.
I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. And yeah, I believe having your own unique style is important because in a world of TikTok and Instagram nowadays, with all the reels and short form content, a lot of people, they like to follow trends. They like to follow all these clicky trends and do the same thing, but it's not unique, you know. So you gotta be unique, or you're not gonna make it. Simple as that.
That is quite true, and I completely agree to that. And yeah, but I mean, it's overall just so interesting to, like I said, to look back at what you're doing because I mean, it's just extraordinary. And for anyone who's watching and listening who has not like had a chance yet to check out your content, how would you describe your style of of recording and documenting?
Yeah, I would describe my style as a very fast-paced style. My edits are very quick, so there's a lot of energy in them, and I work very hard on my sound designs too. So I really work hard on putting sound effects into my videos to really immerse my viewers into the videos.
Yeah, and I definitely can. Yeah, I mean, can see that very evident within your videos that I've seen, and it's just extraordinary. And since you were speaking about even like short form content and new ways to promote, how would you say that like has your style of recording evolved over time as new mediums have arisen?
Absolutely, yes. I have found better ways to record things. It's not as fast paced as it used to be. I try my best not to make it too crazy, because sometimes you can really lose viewership there. But overall, yeah, I've kind of tweaked some things here and there to figure out what it truly is that I like.
Well, that is good to hear. And yeah, like I said, this is just really enjoyable. And I guess my next question is actually, taking a side note. And so for those who are watching on video, I know that you are in, I presume your studio, is this your studio right here that you're in?
Yeah, yep. Yep, this is just my bedroom. Yep, right behind me, I have a whole entire green screen set up, as well as a light right above me. So that way, I can switch the light over right to my green screen setup. I can do product marketing videos right over here. It's a good setup overall. Nice and easy. Yep. And I got my camera right here too. I can show you as well. And, we're just running a Canon R6 here. So yeah, that's all my gear right there. Some basics.
Well, that is nevertheless, I mean, it looks visually like impressive for the little bit I can see of it. And out of curiosity, how long did it take you to configure your setup?
Years. I will say, yeah, probably. Oh man, five years in the making of going from just a beginner DSLR to a bigger professional setup.
But nevertheless, I mean, that is so cool that you are able to have these opportunities and just really pursue it. And I guess what is something that people often don't ask you about your journey that you would want people to know?
The hardships, because nobody sees the bumpy road um, at all. And like I said, I had to get a full time job. On top of this, I have worked part time during this job. It's not easy, It's a mental battle. You're constantly working too. When you take on a business of your own, you're not just working 40 hours a week. You're almost working like 80 hours a week. It honestly doubles because on your free time you may have to be texting clients or reaching out to other people, trying to network at the same time. so that way you can keep yourself afloat and keep the money rolling in for yourself. You got to support yourself at the end of the day. So I would definitely say nobody really asked me too much about the hardships. It may look easy, but it's not. It's a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of dedication, and you have to be willing to do it.
But nevertheless, I'm glad that you were able to, I mean, to share a bit about that, here, with speaking with you. And so yeah, but even with those hardships though, I like that you've been able to ultimately like overcome them and keep working towards them, that you didn't let it get you down, but instead you just pursued harder.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. That's I always try and give that people the advice. Things aren't always going to be perfect. Never. There's never going to be a perfect week. There's never going to be a perfect day. Things happen, and so when things happen, like you just got to do your best to throw it aside, and just keep pushing through. Um, and that's my whole motto. If you got a dream, chase it. If you got a dream, like put your all into it.
I love that. And yeah, I mean, but overall, I mean, I can tell even that personal theme, I mean, just through this conversation that we've been having thus far. And it's so interesting being able to hear your perspective on everything and just ultimately how much this means to you as a person. And so have you always been, a very creative person?
I like to think so. Yes, I've always loved arts. I've always loved working with my hands. Um, I've definitely been a creative person growing up. I used to kind of build things out of wood, and when I was like 10 years old, I was buying like electric saws and stuff. Being creative with all that, or maybe I was just kind of sitting in my kitchen making up like a drawing or something. I always loved to work with my hands. I always loved being creative. I always kind of thought I had a creative mind, and I'm glad I've been able to put it to use. I think anybody who thinks they have a creative mind, go put it to use.
That's just such a great sentiment. And so over these next few months as we're closing out 2023 and entering into 2024, like what are your hopes and ambitions going forward? Because like you said earlier, you are 21, you now have been working on your videography for practically at least the second half of your life, I mean, if you really think about it. And so I guess what is next for Jordan Canes?
What is next for myself? I would say to really expand my business. I'm really looking to build a solid client base here in South Carolina. I'm looking to work with bigger brands, bigger people, and I'm really working on making just elevating my skills. I really want to elevate my skills. I want to get them to be the best, because that's the ultimate goal at the end of the day. You really want to try and be the best version of yourself you can.
I love that. And with you being, you know, with your freelance being able to be a part of different projects, because you mentioned like weddings and documentaries and so on. What would you say is your favorite out of all of them to do? Because I know you mentioned a few earlier on, but has it sort of evolved and shifted, or are there some type of productions you prefer over others?
Yeah, totally. There are some I do prefer over others, and I've worked in the wedding business for about 5 years now as an assistant, as well as for myself too. And I do have the most experience in the wedding industry, um, but I don't think it's something that I absolutely love. And don't get me wrong, I love filming a wedding. I love seeing the smile on somebody's face or the great text that you get back when you send off that final product. But I do really like to get creative when it comes to working with like content creators, for example. And I just shot a video with a client on who's on TikTok. He does a lot of gym content, and he just signed with a pre-workout company, and so we made a whole ad for him. And to create that ad for him, I got really creative. I got to just kind of do whatever I want, do whatever I felt, and get really creative with that project.
And I guess, yeah, as we begin closing out, I will say for that project, how was it doing that? Because that definitely sounds like a very different type of a video, but yet I could easily see. I mean, see you having like the most fun with that. And actually, I have seen some of your stuff with that on Instagram, but nevertheless,
Yeah, yeah. It's just more fun. Yeah, like I said, you can get more creative with it. That client in particular, he wasn't too picky about what I did. He just kind of, trusted my vision, said, do whatever you feel is right. So I just kind of I did a pre-shoot plan. I had some plans in my head of how I wanted to shoot it, to make sure that my editing process was easier. So I went into that shoot. I got the shots I needed. I threw them in my editing software. I worked on that project for a good, I don't know, 3 days maybe. And yeah, the final result was something really, really unique. A lot of people got, there was a lot of great feedback on that video. A lot of people loved it, from what he said. And yeah, it was awesome to get the feedback that it did.
I'm so glad. And out of curiosity, did you attempt to join the workout too?
Um, I did not. I do love to work out. I do love my fitness, but maybe next time. Maybe next time I will for a shoot.
Well, nevertheless, though, this has just been so fun speaking with you, and I'm so glad I had a chance to, to really interact with you and get to know you. Because I mean, like I said, your content is just so extraordinary, and anyone watching and listening who has not checked out Jordan's content, be sure to do that and follow everything Kane's Media does because it's just extraordinary.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Brandon. And it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to yourself. I know I've been kind of following you for a few years now, ever since we met quite a few years back, just over the internet. But yeah, you're doing some great things yourself, man. And I can't thank you enough for having me on the podcast.
Of course, and thank you so much. And yeah, and like I said before, if anyone would like to go ahead and check out your content and everything else you do, where are the best places for them to go ahead and look first?
Yes, the best places to go ahead and see all of my media would be over at Kane's Media on Instagram, Kane's Media on TikTok, and Kane's Media on YouTube. So you can just look those up on those platforms. I got a lot of content on there you can go check out. And please feel free to just go through all my work and enjoy.
I love that. And last but certainly not least, I did want to say for anyone who may have been inspired by your story or or wants to get into this field yourself, what would be the last message that you would like to give for all of those who are watching or listening here today on the Tansson Talk Show?
Of course, for anybody trying to get into this industry, um, you're only going to get closer to your goals if you network. I recommend go meet people, go ask people about things, go, pick people's brains. Um, the more you can learn about the industry, the faster you're going to get there, and the quicker you're going to be able to make something out of yourself. So network, 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 network. That's all I can say.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Jordan, for everything. And I wish you all the best in your continued success. Don't be a stranger.
Absolutely, Brandon. Thank you very much. I appreciate it very much.
Of course, for those of you watching or listening, thank you all so much for tuning in to the Tansson Talk Show. As always, I always appreciate your support. But until next time, have a wonderful day, everyone, and let's continue on our mission to bring people together. Take care.